Let's start this breakdown off where the episode began, the opening credits. After HBO chose to forgo their use in the premiere episode, I was very curious to see what they had in store this time around. Although I was a bit disappointed not to hear a new composition, it made perfect sense for the studio to bring back the classic theme. It's become so iconic over the past decade that it's practically synonymous with the Game of Thrones universe. The song's accompanying visuals, however, were anything but recycled. Rather than the iconic astrolabe and map of Westeros we saw at the start of every Game of Thrones episode, we get a tour of a Valyrian city, likely the same that King Viserys is composing a model of. Throughout this city, various House Targaryen iconography is used to visually convey the history of the Targaryen dynasty in Westeros. As the theme progresses, we journey from Aegon the Conqueror all the way to Princess Rhaenyra, our current protagonist. Speaking of Rhaenyra, she's really starting to prove herself to be Daenerys' ancestor. From her intelligent, unabashed conveyance of her beliefs at both the small council meeting and when choosing a new member of the Kingsguard, to her unwavering boldness in the face of frightening encounters with her second cousin Rhaenys and her uncle Daemon, she really proves her strength despite her young age. And unfortunately, speaking of young age, the pressure is on for King Viserys to marry and produce a new male heir. We find ourselves 6 months after the events of episode 1. In incredibly disturbing fashion, Corlys and Rhaenys push forward their 12-year-old daughter Laena as a candidate for marriage. For Viserys, marrying into House Velaryon does make the most political sense. Not only would it calm the rivalry between Viserys and Rhaenys that emerged after the Great Council of 101 AC, but it will also secure the Velaryon fleet, the most powerful armada of ships in all of Westeros. No political advantage, however, can dissuade Viserys' natural discomfort at the prospect of marrying and eventually bedding a literal child. This effort to betroth his daughter to King Viserys, combined with his political moves later in the episode, really lowered my opinion of Corlys as a character. In the first episode, he appeared as a strongly opinionated but wise and pragmatic ally to the royal family. Now we can clearly see he's just another political animal, doing whatever it takes to get ahead regardless of ethics. Notice he also tried to use his daughter to snoop out the location of a presumably missing dragon. Since House Velaryon, like the Targaryens, has the blood of old Valyria, could he potentially be trying to gain this information in an attempt to locate, tame, and control the dragon for himself? Thankfully, the efforts of Corlys and Rhaenys were in vain, as Viserys has decided his new wife will be Alicent Hightower, the daughter of his hand of the King Otto. This dynamic is still disgusting, as Alicent is the same age as Rhaenyra, who is revealed to be 15. It is, however, a bit less disturbing given both the cultural context and the fact that they had 6 months to get to know each other. I love how the show is trying to paint Alicent as sympathetically as possible. While her father is using her as nothing but a political pawn, she genuinely cares about Viserys and tries to treat him with the kindness and compassion she would like to receive. Still, despite this arrangement not being to her knowledge or desire, it naturally enrages Rhaenyra, her best friend and the daughter of her newly betrothed. Being as young as she is, Alicent is a perfect candidate to bear many children. Male heirs that the realm could be swayed toward instead of Rhaenyra. Equally enraged by this engagement is Corlys, who abandons his position on the High Council and travels to meet with Daemon. Since we last saw him, rather than return to the Vale as ordered, Daemon has occupied Dragonstone. If you recall from Game of Thrones, Dragonstone is the ancestral seat of House Targaryen. It was where the Targaryens made their home after the Doom of Valyria, but before their conquest of Westeros. Since the conquest, however, it has become the castle belonging to whoever the current heir is. We saw the island fill this role in Game of Thrones as the base of operations for Stannis and later for Daenerys after arrival in Westeros. Egging on King Viserys, Daemon is taking control of Dragonstone, despite it technically belonging to Rhaenyra. Adding further insult to injury, he steals the very dragon egg that was promised to Viserys' deceased infant son. Otto and company travel to Dragonstone in an attempt to circumvent this treasonous behavior, but no progress is made until the arrival of Rhaenyra. Having snuck away from King's Landing on the back of her dragon, she is able to force Daemon into submission. Daemon clearly has a soft spot and genuine love for his niece, one that he would not destroy in the name of his political games. In the aftermath of this defeat, Daemon meets with Corlys. Both feeling resentment toward Viserys and his weakness as a king, they form an alliance to take back the Stepstones from the brutal control of the Triarchy. As the head of House Velaryon, Corlys has the strongest fleet of ships in Westeros. However, using said fleet against the Triarchy can be seen as Westeros, more specifically the Viserys regime, declaring war against the Free Cities, something that could be disastrous for the throne. Overall, I found this episode to be another home run. Though not as strong as its predecessor, I think that's simply because it doesn't have the series premiere hype to bolster it. With Daemon and House Velaryon going down to the Stepstones against the wishes of the throne, and Rhaenyra and Alicent's friendship fractured, things are bound to get more chaotic from here. The 60 years of peace shielding Westeros is starting to crack. If If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content of this nature, be sure to hit that subscribe button. You can also ring that notification bell to be updated whenever I upload a new video. If you'd like to check out my fiction writing as well as my vlog channel, visit my website withkoji.com/AckerandHime. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all next week for episode 3.